Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We shall now continue with our program, but before that, let us recall that this morning the first panel is on researches from the Association of Private Schools, Colleges, and Universities, rather. So we now commence the presentations of our panel 2 researches from BCYF South Luzon, care of University of Perpetual Help System, and Lyceum of the Philippines University, facilitated by Professor Emmanuel Del Cielo Garcia, Dean of the College of Radiologic Technology, University of Perpetual Help, Calamba. The following are the members of the second panel and their respective researches. We have Professor Madel Loredo Abuyo and Professor Jonathan R. Roque of the College of Arts and Sciences, Lyceum of the Philippines University, on perception of Barangay Makiling residents towards ISRO program of LPU Laguna. We also have Dr. Josephine P. Dasig and Dr. Alfonso H. Loreto from the University of Perpetual Help, Delta, on breaking prison walls through transformative education. Also joining us are Dr. Belinda T. Conde and Dr. Nelisa C. Casella of the University of Perpetual Help, Las Piñas, on rebuilding lives, sustaining livelihood, survivors of Typhoon Yolanda's devastation. So without further ado, we give you the presentations of the different researches from BCYF South Luzon.
To start off, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Emmanuel Del Cielo Garcia, the Dean of the College of Radiologic Technology and the COP Coordinator of the University of Perpetual Help, Calamba Campus. In this session, 3 research papers will be presented to us, harboring with the theme Transformative CSR. The first presentation, entitled Perception of Barangay Makiling Residents Towards ISRO Program of the LPU Laguna, to be presented by Professor Jonathan Roque, ISRO Coordinator from the College of Arts and Sciences of Lyceum of the Philippines, Laguna.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my honor to be one of the presenters for today's activity. And I would like to share with everyone the product of our research last year. And it's entitled The Perception of Barangay Makiling Residents Towards ISRO Program of Lyceum of the Philippines University, Laguna. So, and every individual, being a member of a community, has a responsibility placed in his shoulders. This, though, is not limited on the individual level, but more so in any corporation, industry, or institutional level. Social responsibility is where members of an organization or institution may share and develop mutually beneficial relationship within the society and community that it operates. It is an ethical responsibility for organizations to positively impact their respective communities through different facets, from environmental to economic to health and to education. Community Extension Program also helps individuals learn and acquire knowledge outside the 4 corners of their rooms and houses. It does not just deal with the learning through books, but focuses more on its application in the real world. Developing a community through community extensions with the utmost assistance of different institutions such as the academe is an act of helping and fulfilling the society's mission as well as that of the academic institutions. It does not just respond to the needs of a community, but also to the mission and vision of the host agency, organization, or institution that led such programs. Thus, Community Extension Program includes people and organizations that are willing to help those who are underprivileged and less fortunate. According to the study of Jem and Nicola in 2005, they believe that a program that addresses the needs identified by the people themselves tends to be more effective in eliciting people's participation. It follows that any program must recognize the value of the people's participation starting from the conceptualization phase. This is done by undertaking a community study that would explore the actual concerns of the people. This, in turn, must be translated into a workable program or project responsive to the identified needs or concerns. along with the initiative and support of LPU Laguna's 5 colleges and different administrative departments, students, staffs, and faculty members are engaged in various activities such as communication and computer literacy programs, livelihood and relief operations, as well as seminars related to environment and health aspects, personality development, and career and employment preparations that are routinely being conducted. In the study of Jem and Nicola in 2005, they emphasized the importance of the beneficiaries' participation in planning stage, a practice that needs to be reinforced in order to have more responsive programs for the community. There are instances that a program given does not fit the needs of the community. The perception of beneficiaries of a certain extension is very important in determining if it is indeed successful. This study was done to determine the perceived image of Barangay Makiling residents towards the ISR programs of LPU Laguna. Along with this study, ISR or CSR would be able to recognize the barriers of the activities offered to the community. Thus, this will help the institution create better community extension projects where both the benefactor and the beneficiaries would learn the value of social responsibility. Next slide, please. So the objectives of this study are the following: to determine the respondents' level of understanding of ISR or CSR, and to find out the level of awareness of residents on ISR programs, and to describe the respondents' attitude towards LPU Laguna's ISR programs. And for the method which was used, the data were gathered from the residents of Barangay Makiling, Calamba, Laguna. The researcher-made questionnaire contains a combination of checklist and Likert scale, statements, questions that elicit information on the respondents' level of understanding or knowledge, awareness, and attitude towards LPU Laguna's ISR programs. Data were graphed and tabulated in frequency distribution and percentage, while weighted means with verbal interpretations summarized the responses in the Likert scale. Next slide, please. So based on the respondents' profile, 41% of the respondents are male, 59% are female, and regarding their age, 9% is between 18 to 22 years old, 16% is between 23 to 27 years old, 17% between 28 to 32 years old, 15% 33 to 37 years old, 18% 38 to 42 years old, and 25% 42 years old and above. Regarding the civil status of the respondents, 35% are single, 53% are married, 1% is divorced, 5% is separated, 6% is widowed. Regarding their educational attainment, 4% is elementary level, 29% is high school level, 11% is vocational level, 19% is college level. Let's now proceed to the table 1 of the results. Table 1 shows the level of understanding or knowledge of the respondents on what institutional social responsibility is, with all the statements agreed by the respondents and getting score of 3.1 interpreted as agreed. It only shows that the respondents
Is it okay if we can proceed with the second presenter first? Okay, all right. So for the next presentation, the presenter is Dr. Josephine Dasig, the Community Outreach Chairman of the University of Perpetual Help Las Piñas campus, entitled Breaking Prison Walls Through Transformative Education in the Philippines. Let us all welcome Dr. Dasig.
Good afternoon, everyone, especially to the president of my alma mater, Dr. Tony Yap. I am very proud to say that I'm an alumna of the O Academy, one of his schools in Pampanga. Kaya I hope you will be proud of me, sir. So I have the honor to present to you my study entitled Breaking Prison Walls Through Transformative Education. So I am Dr. Josephine P. Dasig. Together with me in this study is Dr. Alfonso H. Loreto. Okay. Our school has UPHSD Bilibid Extension School. It is an extension school located right within the heart of the National Bilibid Prison. Our school is located in the medium security compound. So for the Bureau of Corrections' main responsibility in the Philippines is for the safekeeping of prisoners and rehabilitation through general moral education and technical training in industry and agriculture. Basically, Bucor before give education through basic literacy in writing, reading, and mathematics. It is in this concept that the founder of UPHSD Bilibid Extension School thought of putting up an extension school solely for the inmates inside the National Bilibid Prison. Hence, I'm also very proud to say that it's the only one in the world because what we are offering, next slide please. What we are offering is BS or Bachelor of Science in Entrepreneurship to deserving medium risk prisoners. And we started this out since 1984. In 2008, we started to offer computer hardware servicing also to the medium risk prisoner. 2 years ago, we offered teacher certificate program because the alumni of this program are being utilized as teachers in the elementary, high school, and even in ALS, but not in the college, of course, because that is our turf. And just this year, we also opened grades 11. Now, you might be asking why medium risk prisoners? Because these are the people, these are the prisoners who are hardcore criminals, rapists, murderers, name it, we have it there. But because of our education, they are being rehabilitated, okay, because of the education that we are offering. So basically, this is the map of, the gate of perpetual inside the medium risk it's inside the medium security compound of National Bilibid Prison. It's located in Camp Sampaguita. It is literally perpetual inside the National Bilibid Prison. And every year we have graduation rites. Next slide, please. So this is the graduation we had in 2016. So you might be asking why medium risk prisoner, because these are the prisoners who are still capable of being free. They still have the chance to be free. So what we do in our institution, we offer them diploma, technical skills, entrepreneurial skills in order for them to have a better life once they are reintegrated in the society. With a diploma on hand, they will be very proud that they came in the NBP as criminals, but they'll be going out as professional. We are offering BS entrepreneurship because we would wanted them to become entrepreneur once they're out. Because you know the stigma that we have in the society is still there, it's still very high. Once you are out of the prison, they labeled you as criminals or ex-con, and the community is not yet ready to fully accept these people, even though they are already transformed. So even the diploma we're giving them is actually named UPHSD Las Piñas. It's not Bucor, or it's not in the Bilibid prison. We have it UPHSD Las Piñas, so that once these prisoners will be out and they'll be applying abroad or locally, then they will be accepted because of the diploma and the transcript of record they carry with them. Okay, next. So there is just one question that I asked among the 12 respondents. One is, what is the impact of the University Perpetual Help System Delta on the lives of the inmate students? On the lives of the inmate students, because we just want to know how our school is being of help to them in their lives inside the prison and outside. For the methodology, this is a qualitative research because we want to gain insight in the lives of the inmate students, inmate alumni, and inmate teachers. I have 12 respondents. There was this direct interaction, one-on-one and group interaction for those who are already out, because I met 3 alumni. I dated them. One is in San Pedro, Laguna. The other is in Molino, Bacoor, and the other one is Lampiñas. It's risky, but I took the risk. But it's okay because they are already reformed. So there is a reflection paper, a narrative analysis of the interviews, and focus group discussion were being utilized in forming the qualitative result of the study. So for the result, there are 3 compelling themes because this is qualitative. So I grouped their answers, and basically there are 3 compelling themes that came out. 1, all of them wanted to become a better person. All of them wanted to be the better version of themselves. The school itself is of help to them already because it is in that school that they saw the brightest side of the NBP. They found family among their classmates, co-inmates, visitors, students who are usually and constantly visiting them from time to time. And with all the programs that we are having, because this is our extension school, so basically whatever we have in the main school is also replicated and duplicated inside the Bilibid prison. So if we have Linggo ng Wika in our main school, so there's also Linggo ng Wika. If we have sports fest, they also have sports fest. So it's really a good thing for them. So all of them wanted to become a better person, and of course the school has strict implementations that they need to follow the rules or else they'll be out in the program. Okay? So number 2, they are grateful for the computer and entrepreneurial skills they learned. So since their course or the program offered is BS in entrepreneurship, so the entrepreneurial skills that they're learning from the professors, from the visitors, from the different organizations who are coming there and helping them, really help them to become financially independent. Actually, some of them are very thankful that they are now financially independent, meaning they're not asking money anymore from their families outside the National Bilibid Prison. And some of them are already entrepreneurs because they started with their businesses like burger stand, mini canteen, bakery. Right now we have a very big bakery that supplies the bread inside the National Bilibid Prison. Okay? And then all of them really wanted to be free in the future. They're very happy and they're very proud. They're very excited to be out. Especially most of them are already parents. They're all daddies. And they're very excited to hand the diploma that they have on their hand to their family and to their children. They would want their children to be proud of them, even though they are inside the prison, but they are studying and they're striving very hard to achieve and to become professionals. And then, for the conclusions, we have 1, all of them wanted to better themselves. They want to have the best version of themselves once they're out. And they develop a closer relationship with God, because if you will visit the medium security compound of NBP, you'll be able to see that every day there are Eucharistic celebrations, not only of the Catholic, but as well as for the Muslim, for the Christians, any religious denominations are all there. So they are active in sports. They regain their self-confidence. They are financially literate now, and they develop holistically. They regain their self-confidence by putting all their self-concept. Because once you will be branded or once you will be convicted as criminals, as criminal, you will be shattered into pieces. But because of the different programs that our school is offering to them, they are now become whole, and they were able to gain their self-confidence and self-respect. And then for the recommendations, UPHSD should continue in improving the implementation of the program, which we are continuously doing. Just like what I told you, we are now offering a teacher certificate program, because some of the alumni that we have are utilized as teachers. So of course, once you are not an education graduate, you do not know the art and sciences of behind teaching. So what we do now, we are offering teaching certificate program to them. And then provide more sports materials. They really wanted to have that. And then provide spiritual programs that will enrich the different faith. And counseling seminars, not only for them, but for their family. Because sometimes their families are not yet ready to accept them. Imagine for being away for 10 to 15 years, and then you'll be back to your family. Sometimes they feel the indifference of families towards them. They would also wanted, I personally wanted to have a house, halfway house, wherein there is indeed a training for them before they will really be reintegrated into society. And the implications of this. So inmate students, though convicted criminals, are slowly renewing and transforming the better versions of themselves. They are now deserving of the second chances that the society must entrust them. Unfortunately, this is where the society is failing. There must be an intense education campaign that these criminals are now transformed individuals, that we should entrust them, particularly, I guess, with the businesses that they will be encountering. But I am proud to say also that some of the inmates that we have are locally and gainfully employed, and others are already working abroad. I was able to interview one who's now working in Saudi Arabia as forklift operator. And I heard one was already working in the United States in one of the telephone companies there. So we have a line. The average graduate that we have is 18 individuals or 18 graduates. You might be asking why it's low. Because once they are in our program, they have a greater chance that their sentence will be diminished into half because of the GCTA, that is good conduct time allowance, which is given to them. So if you're a convict and you have to serve 16 years inside the medium security compound, but because you, as a student, showed a very good behavior, that 16 years will be lessened into 10, will be lessened into 10, into 8. You can be paroled. Sometimes our students defer their parole or defer the parole because they really wanted to finish the program. We had just one who is about to go out last December, but he said to defer first his freedom because he really wanted to attend the graduation, which is scheduled in March. So he went out in May of this year. So that's the study that we have for our Believe It Extension Service. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Dasig. To continue his presentation on perception of Barangay Makiling residents towards ISR or program of LPU Laguna, may we call on again Professor Jonathan Roque.
Okay, let's go back. Let's now proceed to results and discussions. Okay, Table 1 shows the level of understanding or knowledge of the respondents on what institutional social responsibility is. With all the statements agreed by the respondents and getting mean score of 3.1 interpreted as agree, it only shows that respondents do understand what ISR is in general. The result also gauged the recognition of the ISR initiatives, coverage, and goals. The data were consistent with a study done by Vienna University of Economics and Business Administration in 2008 entitled Awareness Raising for Corporate Social Responsibility, Sustainable Public Procurement, and Socially Responsible Investment. It stated that CSR policies in general are recognized in their respective locations, particularly reflected in a community in Europe where it underwent several formal trainings and conferences that were aimed towards increasing public awareness of the programs that we're about to conduct. Next slide, please. Sorry. Table 2 shows the list of ISR programs being conducted in Barangay Makiling. More than half the respondents, 53%, identified community projects as well as the well-known program implemented in the barangay, followed by healthcare projects and educational projects, which is 32%. The result is affirmed by the study of Sharma and Kiran in 2012 concerning the types of ISR or CSR initiatives commonly conducted in communities. Sharma and Kiran measured the top performing companies on CSR and examine what kind of activities and projects they primarily carried out. Next slide, please. List of ISR participants. Table 3 shows the list of participants involved in any way in ISR projects. 41% of the respondents stated that the entire community is engaged in the ISR projects, followed by LPU Laguna's students, which is 37%, and employees, which is 34%. This only shows that employees of institutions, in many cases, students, if the institution is a school, are the main participants in CSR activities. Though it is already given that the main participants involved will always be the entire community since they are the benefactors. According to Velios in 2011, the motivation of employee-corporation relationships in participating in CSR efforts are determinants in enhancing business performance. He also reiterates the importance of employees' participation in effective ISR implementation as they are more well-informed and possess more accurate perceptions. Table 4 shows that majority of the respondents have positive thoughts and feelings towards ISR program. 75% of them even look at the projects as life-changing. Though the respondents still think that it would be helpful to conduct orientations prior to implementing various projects, they still agree that enough information is disseminated and even added that ISR projects should be conducted more often. Table 5 shows respondents' attitudes towards ISR programs. Attitudes discussed here measures the favorable and unfavorable evaluation of their behavior towards ISR projects. With a mean score of 3.5, respondents agree positively on how ISR programs benefit them as well as how responsive they are in the call of participation. This also reflects how open-minded and responsive they are with all the programs being conducted to them. The respondents also agree in stating that ISR programs around their community positively improve their quality of life and enhance their well-being without being detrimental to the ecological and the community life support systems. They also believe that successful ISR practices are indicated by good governance. According to the study of Luo and Bhattacharya in 2006, they found out that community members are universally more satisfied with companies that have social responsibility efforts embedded in their businesses. This yields to a more positive reaction towards their business offerings. And when it comes to conclusions, Barangay Makiling residents do understand what institutional social responsibility is and its intentions. What are the programs or projects being done? Who are the benefactors and beneficiaries? Why it is being conducted in a community and how it is being implemented. The community positively perceived ISRO or CSR programs initiative as projects that help improve the community's quality of living without anything being compromised. And regarding the recommendations, we recommend that projects must be carefully planned, organized, and systematically be implemented in order to have greater impact to both the institution and the adopted community. And we also recommend that a needs assessment survey must be done first in order to suit the interests of the adopted community as well as the program evaluation of every partner or every partner college or department must be undertaken to further understand limitation or issues met during the project's implementation. We also recommend that different departments and colleges should discuss ways on how to improve their community extension projects that will help strengthen ISRO or CSR vision and mission. And lastly, we recommend that more projects be provided with thorough information dissemination that would further empower the partner community. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Roque. We will welcome all your questions and inquiry at the end of the third presentation, right, for the open forum. And now, Last but definitely not the least, our next presenter is Dr. Belinda Conde, a volunteer and facilitator on community extension. The paper entitled Rebuilding Lives, Sustaining Livelihood, Survivors of Typhoon Haiyan's Devastation. Let us all welcome Dr. Conde.
Good afternoon. I am Belinda Conde, and with my co-author or co-researcher is Dr. Nelisa C. Casella. And I am presenting a portion of a bigger project that we have conducted. And this is commissioned by the Department of Health regarding the how do you call this? The IDP, or the internally displaced people or population or persons. But the DOH project that we have then was actually focused on the health, access, and needs of the IDPs. This project was actually conducted after we have visited Tacloban after the Yolanda, Typhoon Yolanda. That was in November 2013. November 2013 was the Yolanda's devastation, and we went to Tacloban on in March of 2014. And it turned out that really there is so much that we can do for the people who have been devastated. So I decided to present this, the result of this study to you right now. Okay, next slide. So for the introduction, the internally displaced persons is actually a group of 3 sectors in our society. Those who have been displaced because of conflict, like what is happening right now in Marawi. Another group is due to disasters, like what happened in Bohol, in Yolanda, in Tacloban, and in, what is this, the latest one? The one in Ormoc. And the third sector, or the third group of this sector, is those who have been displaced due to urban development or due to modernization. So this particular study is focused on the group which has been devastated, and this is due to disaster. Okay, Typhoon Yolanda happened November 8 to 9 of 2013, and much has been devastated in Eastern Samar, later Cebu, Iloilo, and Palawan. We all know that. And there is around 9.5 million people affected because of this Yolanda devastation. Geographically, the devastation was so vast from Palawan, which is somewhere down south, and most of the Visayas provinces. Over 673,000 persons were displaced, and they have been put in evacuation sites with tent cities or bunkhouses. Now, for the consequences of the typhoon, it created special needs to the victims since they were displaced in tent cities or bunkhouses. And the devastation of Typhoon Yolanda has significant impact on their standard of living and access to basic needs and services such as food, water, and housing, which posed immense difficulties for them. Now, the UNHCR, as the protection cluster or co-lead in the rehabilitation, they participated in the intercluster TWG, or the Technical Working Group. They established to develop a common humanitarian position on housing, land, and property in the context of the government policy on the use of bank houses as temporary shelter to decongest evacuation centers, and of the policy on no-build zones. Because most of the houses that were devastated were along the coastal vicinity of Leyte and Samar and the rest. May we go back to the previous slide? And there is work to ensure, UNHCR work to ensure beneficiary selection of bank houses as being fair and transparent, and the most vulnerable families are prioritized for assistance. And they conducted a protection assessment mission to 4 typhoon-affected areas. And these were documented. These items were all documented. Now, the focus of our research is assessing and addressing, aside from assessing and addressing the basic needs, is to explore their personal experiences and insights about their tragic past, coping with their present situation, and to rebuild their lives. Actually, we went there primarily because we have some relief goods, but after that, we came up with this exploration of personal experiences. Next slide. Now, we use personal narrative as it would provide more significant information in assessing, analyzing, and responding to their actual needs in terms of relief goods, house and land property, and job livelihood since the onset of the typhoon, after the typhoon, and up to the time when this study was conducted. It would give us deeper understanding of their condition. It would also guide government agency, the NGOs, volunteer groups, or rescue team in planning and responding to the basic and protection needs, as well as in rebuilding lives and sustaining livelihood. For the methods, we use the qualitative approach. We have casual conversation from the people of Tacloban, Palo, and Tanawan in Leyte, and some other smaller barangays nearby. We explore their basic and protective needs in terms of relief goods, house and land property, and jobs, livelihood. We had casual conversation, naturally elicited personal stories, insights, values about the past tragedy, mechanisms to cope and rebuild their lives at present and sustain their livelihood for the future. And we also had casual conversation conducted per household within the tent city or bank houses in Tacloban. For the co-participants, any one member of the household or anyone affected or those who witnessed the typhoon, and upon their consent or assent, willingly share their stories. And these include a wife, a mother, a group of teenagers, husband and a father, a pedicab driver, a group of elders, and a soldier. Actually, the soldiers have a great participation in delivering the relief goods to the communities. Now, the duration of the study is from April 2014 to April 2015. And we consider the regular external updates of the UNCHR on Typhoon Haiyan victims from November 2013 up to November 2014. Regular external updates of the UNHCR were considered vital since these provide the actual documentation and the most valid and reliable information used, cited, and quoted in verbatim in this study to protect the official reports and documentations of UNHCR. We also had photographs, but I should tell you that the photographs are not very nice to look at. The actual photographs taken during the data gathering included the local setting, only to highlight the devastation of Typhoon Haiyan in Tacloban. No pictures were taken with the participants, despite their consent or participation in the casual conversation. And the researchers did not find it appropriate to take pictures, as the participants burst into tears and deeply pained when they narrated their stories. Now, for the results and discussion, we have come up with some themes. Table 1, basic needs of the victim of Typhoon Haiyan addressed by the government. For the themes, we have about food, no food. It's been 3 days that we hadn't eaten. No spam and corned beef were received from the U.S. relief good, as they claimed. So for the interpretation, for the no food, no immediate relief goods were provided by the government. Starvation for almost 3 days, since there was no supply of relief goods, and food floating on the flood as source of survival from hunger and death. There is no distribution of important relief goods to the victims in any of the bank houses or barangays. All houses were devastated. Nothing was left in their houses. That's verbatim. Most of the houses was wiped out by the flood. Appliance and furniture soaked in water and mud. Another theme, our fields were all destroyed and washed away, and the fields were transformed into a huge body of water due to flooding. The harvest and supply of sacks of rice were washed away, floating on the flood. Another theme, the Americans gave tents, and the Chuchi gave some money to start our livelihood. And we have seen this personally. There were long queues of people waiting for the Chuchi to give them some money. Chuchi, I think, is from Taiwan, a Taiwanese group of people, or NGO. And the amount of money given to a family depends on the number of children. So the more children, the larger the amount. So the international agencies put up the bank houses for temporary shelter, distributed tents or roofs for temporary shelter. But I tell you, the tents are really so depressing to see. It's too hot in the inside. Remember, there was even one tent house which was burned, and there was somebody inside who was also burned. The bank house or tent city was our temporary shelter. Chuchi, a Taiwanese organization, personally distributed money to the affected families. That's what I said a little while ago. No work, since even offices, industrial plants, and establishments were destroyed. So there is no available job, since the workplace were also destroyed by the tsunami. There is no temporary job available or provided. There is no source of income. That's why some transferred to Manila. Men were asked to work for cleaning up and rebuilding the city, but for a very low pay or very late payment. Forced to leave and transferred to Manila to work and hoped to survive, but they failed. Now, Table 1 shows the themes on the basic needs. Victims claim that the Philippine government did not respond immediately to their basic needs and contradicted the UNHCR reports. Only the international agencies and volunteers provided immediate help in terms of relief goods and non-food items. UNHCR was leading the protection response was participating in the immediate relief efforts with items, tents, plastic sheets, mats, blankets, jerry cans, solar lanterns, etc., targeting 16,000 families. And UNHCR coordinated with the government, WFP, or the World Food Production, and other agencies as well as bilateral aid providers to ensure that aid effectively reached the affected populations as soon as possible. Maybe we can skip these slides. Anyway, you will have a copy of the presentation. Okay, for table 2, insights, values learned by the victims from the devastation of Typhoon Yolanda or Haiyan. Haiyan, the international code name. To rebuild lives and sustain livelihoods. One theme, what is important is we are alive, together as a family while rebuilding our lives and sustaining livelihood. So they still value life, God's gift of second chance to live, value family every day, not only during difficult times, especially at present, as they work hard to live and rebuild their homes and sustain livelihood. Another theme, material things are not important, but the food to live and fight for our lives. Money has no value since material things did not matter then. Money was no value since no food was sold. Money did not save their lives, but money is indispensable to rebuild their homes, generate and sustain livelihood. There's also another theme, the rich and the poor are equal as they fall in line to get the relief goods, food, in order to live. Both poor and rich chase for food since both starve to death. Both have to rebuild their lives and sustain livelihood. So nagkaroon ng prayer and faith in God saved us and to begin again a new life. Only faith in God made them live again, saved them from the devastation and wrath of tsunami. Hope, pursue, work hard to rebuild their lives and sustain family income. So table 2 shows the insights, values learned by the victims from the devastation of Typhoon Yolanda. And these insights are supported by the official document of the struggles, battles, challenges, survival of the victims, and survivors' journey through Yolanda. So maybe we can skip this. For the recommendation, for the purpose of support to valid recommendations that address sustainable policies for the survivors of Typhoon Haiyan, it would be necessary to quote Edwards. In Tacloban, Eastern Samar, and some other areas, local authorities have provided temporary shelters and explained to people that they will have to stay there for 2 years while the search to find permanent relocation continues. These efforts are complicated by the shortage of suitable and lack of services to make relocation sustainable. And we know that this is true. UNHCR and its partners have been monitoring the situation of the families in the remaining displacement sites. We've worked to strengthen the government's capacity to ensure that basic services are provided and that the rights of the displaced people, including their right to voluntary return or relocation, are respected. At the same time, we continue to highlight the urgent need for the Philippines to adopt legislation to protect the rights of internally displaced people whether due to disaster, conflict, or even urbanization. The bill would also provide a much-needed legislative framework to allow state authorities to protect and assist people displaced as a result of the decades-long conflict in the southern part of the country, like the ongoing Marawi conflict. Higher education institutions like UPHSD can also participate in the national effort to extend assistance to these groups of internally displaced people. They can establish their community extension services or their corporate social responsibility initiatives by identifying programs and projects and activities that could be beneficial to those who badly need assistance. So we have some references there. You can refer to those if you need more. And thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Conde. At this point, may we now request our presenter to please stay in front to answer the questions. We are still welcoming other questions. You may use the microphone. I have received 2 questions. One for Dr. Dasig. The question is, when do you hold your classes inside the prison? How long is your program being conducted? The second question is, how active is your alumni, in conducting or holding extension activities in the form of teaching?
Good afternoon. First, UPHSD Bilibid Extension School is actually a tripartite agreement between UPHSD, Bucor, Bureau of Correction, and Rotary Club. Bureau of Correction provides for the venue, the building, etc. Perpetual, on the other hand, is the one in charge of the curriculum, funding, because basically dati kasi it is funded by Rotary Club, but Rotary Club went out of the picture since 2000. So it is now Perpetual handling the funding and anything that has something to do with curriculum. The teachers are sometimes prison guards who are assigned in the education unit of Bucor. There are also professors coming from our institution. So the classes are the regular classes that you have. You have Monday to Friday from 8 to 3, depending on the schedules that they have. So how do we encourage the alumni to join in the extension activities that we have? We have a very active participation from the alumni. But in teaching inside the Bilibid is, they have not yet involved, but they are very active in bloodletting activity, not in Bilibid, but in our institution. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dasig. Second question for Professor Jonathan Roque. The question is, why is it that needs assessment is included in your recommendations? Isn't it the first step in conducting community outreach program is in needs assessment program is created based on the needs of the community? This was the question.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Because in the past, when ISR or Institutional Social Responsibility Office, before it was created, it was the COMEX office. And during those times, the other people who were doing this ISR projects were simply creating projects without really consulting the community. But after there was an overhaul in the organization, and the directorship of Ma'am Terry, who is also here, has been introduced, then she introduced in the office the importance of the needs assessment. So when we conducted a study in Barangay Makiling, all the effects of the previous projects that had been done before just showed up recently when the study was conducted. And we found out that there was really a need to conduct the needs assessment first before we come up with the projects. And just like what we are doing now, before we identify a particular project, we sit down with the members of the community, with the barangay officials, to understand what their residents really need so that we could come up with a more relevant programs for them.
I hope that answers the question for Professor Roque. I have another one for Professor Roque. How would you reconcile the needs of the target community with that of the CSR initiators? Am I right? Sorry. The question is from Dr. Baldovino of Inverga University, Lucena City. I hope I read it correctly.
Yes, thank you again for that question. I understand that we can reconcile the interest of the community and the CSR initiators by, as I said earlier, before the start of every CSR project, or right at the very start, during the planning stage for the annual project of CSR for that particular year, we sit down with them so that we can really identify the right projects or relevant projects for them. Unlike in the past, we simply tell them, okay, this is what you need, without really asking them, what do you really need? I think that is the best way to reconcile the situation.
Thank you, Professor Roque. Another question also from the same Dr. Baldovino of Inverga, Lucena. Yeah. For Dr. Conde, the business landscape changes after devastation of a natural calamity. Can you please share your wisdom on balancing entrepreneurship with business opportunities? It seems very on CSR to grab opportunities on the sufferings of others.
For one thing, I'm not an entrepreneur and I'm not a business-oriented person. I am more in mathematics and the like. But to answer that question in my small capacity, there is nothing more important in any endeavor when you are passionate about what you're doing. So whether you have the expertise or no expertise, for as long as you have, the passion to do it and the willingness to help others. This is what I learned from being a facilitator and a volunteer for so long a time. In fact, when I was starting with the volunteerism and voluntary work with my school, I never realized that I would really gain a lot from it. It's not the people or the community. It's not us teaching the community, but rather it's the community teaching us how to be more compassionate and more humane in dealing with people in those situations. Now, the question is how to balance entrepreneurship and
With business opportunists, it seems very on CSR to grab opportunities on the sufferings of others.
business opportunists. We cannot deny the fact that I don't know. I'm not the right person to answer. Maybe Dr. Yap can help me answer what a business opportunist is, so that I can appreciate it better. I'm sorry, sir, but really I don't know what do we mean. What is the context of this business opportunist?
No, I think the question is very simple. If you make money after some event, is it bad? I think that's the question, right?
Uh-huh.
And the answer
Okay.
is it depends.
Okay.
I
So-
guess the answer it depends.
All right. And I think there is a business ethics on that. I think we have some business ethics to deal with. So if I can be an entrepreneur, from my point of view, I can be an entrepreneur without being called such as a business opportunist. It's not as simple. When you do business, of course, you expect some profit from it. But if you are going to share the profit with others who are less in need, who are in need, then maybe we're doing just fine. So entrepreneurship, I can be an entrepreneur, I can also profit, but why don't we share the small profit that we gain to help others? After all, that's what life is all about.
Thank you, Dr. Conde. For Dr. Dasig, how are you motivating the inmates to enroll in your program? The second question is, what percentage of the population attended the program?
How do we motivate? Actually, before the inmates, those who are assigned in the National Bilibid Prison medium risk, medium security compound are the ones with, if I'm not mistaken, 6 years to 20 years below. So these are the people who still have the chance to be out, to be free. Now, they will be accepted in the Research and Diagnostic Center, in which this is what we call a quarantine moment. Like they have to stay there for 3 months in order for them to get a feel on how it is to live in the National Bilibid Prison. And from there, since all papers are with them, the one in charge of that, if she thinks that, for example, the convict is just 18 years old and have this blah, 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 he will be accepted or he will be offered, would you want to study? Because we have the college department here in Perpetual. But there are also anecdotes that there are some convict who are out, or there are some criminals who are not yet convicted, but they want themselves to be inside the Bilibid because they want to study. We have one case, he's fleeing from the police. He's actually jumping from one crime to another, but when he learned upon our program, he have himself surrendered to the police, and he wanted to be in the Bilibid because he wanted to study. So it depends po with the kind of inmates that we have. Others kasi, they are searching what is National Bilibid Prison, what are the things that they can do. Others are already prepared even before they'll go there. So let's say, for example, those who are convict in Cebu City, one search, he Googled what is NBP and he saw the different programs. So he carried with him his papers when he was in high school, and then when he was in the diagnostic center, he actually enrolled himself. So yun po, that is how many do we have, Miss Cathy? Because I have there Miss Cathy as our coordinator in the Bilibid Extension Service.
Good afternoon po. I'm Miss Catherine De Monteverde, the coordinator of our extension school. I'm going to help lang Ma'am Dr. Dasig in explaining about our program inside the medium risk prisoners. It's different from what the country is known for today, yung maximum. It's different. Medium is for the 20 years and sentence 20 years below. So the process of enrolling in the college, once the prisoner is sentenced in the provincial jail or Cebu City or in provincial jail and in the city jail, once they were sentenced, they were transferred to the reception and diagnostic center. So the RDC is parang what Ma'am Dasig says, the quarantine. They stayed for 3 months to 6 months, and their papers are being reviewed. If they are in medium, maximum, they will be transferred in medium, maximum, and in the minimum. So in jail pa lang po na na-orient na sila na merong college inside the medium. So yung ibang gustong magkaroon ng second chance sa life, ino-orient sila pagdating sa reception and diagnostic. So we get their names. So yung process of enrollment is we have the entrance examination. It's the same from the entrance examination given to the students in Las Piñas campus. And we have the physical examinations, which are from the Bureau of Corrections naman. Kasi once they were enrolled in college, kailangan wala silang gang, yung mga Sputnik, bahala. So tatanggalin nila yung tatak nila. Kasi pag estudyante ka, dapat estudyante ka lang. And the third process of enrollment is psychological exam. Kasi po yung iba parang ginagawa lang nilang minsang taguan yung education. Kasi sa medium, they have the 7 educations from alternatives to college. So yung hindi nakapag-aral sa laya, nakakapag-aral sila, yung mga no read, no write, gustong mag-aral. From alternative to, pag makalaya sila, may diploma na sila and certificate. So that's the process of enrollment po in college.
I'm just curious, why not the minimum risk prisoners? Why the medium risk?
Or why not the minimum po? I think because they are already in the community, sir, and these people who are in the minimum are already in their advanced stage of life. Like, opo.
In minimum po kasi, they are ready to go out. Ini-integrate na po sila sa society. So, hindi na po kailangan kasi po parang nag-stay na lang sila for about a year or more, 3 years or a year. 1 year, one
One
year
year
po, 1 year program. Yes.
Certificate.
The percentage po,
the
the
total,
medium,
the total number that we have, the
the
enrollees
total
that we have.
number, we have 206 right now. The teacher certificate, 221 teacher certificate. Teacher certificate is 15 students. Computer hardware is 33. The grade 11 is 41. And the second year to fourth year college is 137 po. Thank you.
Ma'am, please stay. There's a follow-up question for Dr. Dasig also. In terms of your beneficiaries, how do you think other inmates feel about not being part of the program? Especially especially those who have life sentences in prison. I'm so sorry. Do they not deserve a transformation education? That was the question. That was a follow-up question.
I think for the maximum, they have different kind of education, like theology. But the ones that we have is in the medium security compound. And it's the choice of the inmate whether to study or not because it is offered to them. So if they qualify, because we need to have qualification as well, because we have teachers that we need to protect, we also have students, the visitors coming from the different organizations will be visiting them. So we also need to screen them properly. They really need to have a very good behavior.
I hope that answers the question. For Dr. Jonathan Roque, thank you, ma'am, for your participation. From the awareness on ISR program of the residents of Barangay Makiling, what tangible projects were implemented as follow-through? That was the question.
Just a clarification, I'm not a doctor yet. Okay, thank you. For the tangible programs for the Barangay Makiling, as far as the College of Arts and Sciences is concerned, we do have personality development projects for the Barangay Makiling residents. We also have the multimedia projects, particularly the one we teach the residents how to print T-shirts so that it could also add up to their income. And we also have something like psychological assistance for the elderly of Barangay Makiling.
Thank you, Professor Roque. There. I have 3 more questions for Dr. Conde. So I'll just run down all the 3 questions. So the first question was, what motivated you the most to do the research study? The second question is, given the study conducted, identified different problems and you made recommendations, to what extent has the school extended offered services to the victim of Yolanda? And the last question, Migration is an example of an adaptation strategy to cope up with the effects of disaster. How is the status of migration when Typhoon Haiyan hit summer and center other provinces rather? Do we have any extent of measures regarding the trauma experiences by the respondents? I believe the person asking this question is asking about the post-traumatic,
Yeah.
the counseling. Yes.
I can only remember some of the questions. Now, what motivated me to go on this particular study? This is actually an offshoot of the two things. The one that I did with the DOH, which was funded by DOST. When I went around the country, as far as Compostela Valley and Davao in the south, and I saw a lot of concerns and issues that the people who suffered from this kind of calamities and disasters and the like have to go through. And I was actually deeply moved by what I have seen in Tacloban, in Palo Leyte, and in Tanawan Leyte. After I was there, November was the date of the typhoon. I was there sometime March, and really it was so devastating. There's still that kind of what do you call it? The smell that you can still experience, and the mass graves that it was so depressing. You will have goosebumps when you go there during that time. And after that, we came to visit again the same places that we've been after 6 months. And that motivated me actually to go on this research, even if I am not a social scientist. Now, the other question is
The extent of offered by the school.
the school actually came up, aside from relief goods which were distributed, because after all, relief goods are simply dole outs, so one day at a time lang. But there were programs that were created by the school in order to address some of the problems. So it ranges from education, what do you call this? In terms of education, in terms of health, and in terms of the spiritual aspect of the people who were affected. So, as far as mental health is concerned, actually, when I did the study on the IDPs for the DOH, we were obliged to present policy briefs for recommendation to the then secretary. So what they have done to that, what the recommendations that we have submitted to them, some of them have been addressed, like the, what do you call this, the healthcare. The healthcare then was the healthcare card. The field health, that field health card. Before, it was only those who are employed who have the field health card. But now, even for as long as even if you don't have work, or even if you don't have any employment, the field health card is already available. So that is one program that they have addressed as part of my recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Condit. And we have one more question that would like to personally ask from the panel. We're good. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to cite the highlights of the 3 papers presented and the impact of each to CSR, citizenship, sustainability, and social responsibility. First, on the perception of Barangay Makiling residents towards ISRO program of LPU Laguna by Professor Jonathan Roque. Recommendations were enumerated as CSR must be carefully planned and be systematically implemented for greater impact to both institution and community adopted. Second, different academic and non-academic department must participate and should look into their field of expertise to provide extension program or projects or sustain existing projects to strengthen ISRO. Second, on the paper presented by Dr. Josephine Dasig entitled Breaking Prison Walls Through Transformative Education in the Philippines, the paper focused on the impact of education to inmate students or inmates. First, student inmates had a perception that proper education, regardless of age, will transform them in becoming a vital unit of the society. Student inmates also feel grateful and empowered with the courses offered and for the program to be offered for free in the future. Recommendations derived were University of Perpetual Help System Dalta Las Piñas campus should continue improving and tailor fit the implementation of program to provide a holistic development to inmates. To add more materials on sports and spiritual growth as mentioned, and to provide counseling seminars. Because of this program, inmate students are given a second chance in the society through rehabilitation, transformation, and renewal. And of course, for the last paper presented, Rebuilding Life, Sustaining Livelihood, Survivors of Typhoon Haiyan's Devastation, presented by Dr. Belinda Conde. Typhoon Yolanda, as well as we all know, made a huge impact not only to our people and national resources, but to our national programs on risk management, disaster, preparedness, and rescue. We all know that. The paper focused on the impact of Typhoon Yolanda based on the personal narratives of victims on Tacloban, Palo, and Tanawan Leyte. The themes concluded were the late response of the government on food and supply of relief goods. Second, the claim of U.S. relief good was not distributed to the victims. The money given by Chuchi, depending on family size, that made a huge impact to victims' rehabilitation. The second part, insights of the victims were themed as the value of life. Money has no value in difficult times like this. Reach on the poor equal in the aftermath of a disaster as everyone line to get relief. Prayer and faith can help save and begin a new life. As for the recommendation, the urgent need for the Philippines to adopt legislation to protect the rights of internally displaced people, whether due to disaster, conflict, and even urbanization. A legislative framework to allow state authorities to protect and assist people displaced. Now, for my takeaway on the papers presented is that first, CSR can fill the gap that government or LGU cannot sustain. Second, CSR can contribute to positive impact in the community and support public and individual outcomes as for the beloved prisoners, student inmates. In that, CSR should also focus on designing an approach to address problems on risk management, disaster, and preparedness. CSR can be an avenue on exploring ways and means in providing effective and efficient service to our countrymen. To end, I'd like to read a quote from Terry Brooks. If I have the means, I have the responsibility to employ them. Thank you and God bless.
So thank you very much. That concludes our second panel presentations. So we would like to present our panelists the certificate of appreciation. Again, Sir Tony, we would like to ask for you to give the certificates. A certificate of appreciation is presented to University of Perpetual Help, Dalta, for graciously sharing their experience, insights, and knowledge as one of the panelists during the 7th Philippine CSR Research Conference held at Club Filipino Green Hills, San Juan City, Metro Manila, given this 21st day of August 2017. Signed, J. Antonia. The same certificate is hereby presented to University of Perpetual Help, Calamba. We also have University of Perpetual Help, Las Piñas. And of course, we have Lyceum of the Philippines University.